All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. I'm just going to pause here for just a few moments until I get the thumbs up that everything's working technically here. And there we go. Okay. All right. Good deal. Market, not a whole lot in it today. Not a whole lot to really say about it today. You have stuff that's kind of, on the move here and there, but even stuff without a lot of catalyst, associated with it, and not a whole lot of meaning associated to some of the moves that are out there. For example, Disney. We talked about Bristol Myers last week. This is one I was kind of hoping would signal for the challenge. It didn't give a signal. Consolidation with risk was too high on the algorithm, but we talked about it. We talked about kind of this element of breakout and looking up here at the 49.50 level, and it's grinding its way up towards that level. But as far as a lot of new stuff out there today, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Now for the challenge, there is one signal on the board right now, and that is Boeing. So here in 5 minutes, we'll go out and make that trade, assuming the signal still holds. And we shouldn't have to do anything with Verizon, assuming it is where it is and doesn't move from here. Verizon was down about $1 this morning, down about 70 cents now. Not a great day for it. Volumes aren't exactly fantastic on it. I still think, this morning it just looked like a big seller in there, just saying, all right, we're dumping. And it went out and flushed a little bit there, but we haven't seen any kind of continuation to that really come in any sort of aggressive fashion. If we look at just kind of some of the market internals today, the MarketVibe remains bullish. That has been, and that the MarketVibe number hasn't even changed today, and so it is sitting there still in a very bullish fashion. If we look at some of the sectors that are on the move today, you'll notice materials, financials on the bottom. Two of the weaker points. And interesting kind of thinking about the whys here with it. Financials, you kind of, market's pricing in a rate cut, a little bit more of a rate cut. A rate cut's going to benefit the financials. Well, maybe not. But materials is really interesting because we saw Nucor this morning. And Nucor came out and, revised their earnings guidance down. Now, they didn't just revise it a little bit lower. They revised it a lot a bit lower. In fact, let's see if I can pull up the number here. Let's see. June quarter, from the 148 a share was what was expected. They lowered the guidance down to $1.20 to $1.25. And so big lowering guidance on that. And you think, okay, that's going to be pretty bearish. And Nucor sold off. But it kind of bounced on back and is really held in as, the market has taken it as a, hey, okay, you know what? We at least know what the situation is. And with a lot of these material companies that have been sliding here in April and May, the biggest unknown is the fact that the companies haven't come out and kind of said anything about what the rest of the year is going to be. And so Nucor comes out, gives this kind of, lower guidance. And you think about it, okay, they lowered guidance by 25 cents, which, was partially priced into the stock. We saw U.S. Steel drop on it initially and then rally. So very interesting reaction in some of these material names off of that Nucor element. But, the materials in general, they were one of the biggest gainers over the last 2 weeks and just, big volume in them here to the upside. We're just seeing a little bit of pullback to that here today. So anyway, that's going on out there with materials. And then we see the financials lagging a little bit, but nothing too dramatic. It was one where, we almost got a bear signal on JP Morgan last week. It didn't come in. Consolidation risk was just way too high, and it's been consolidating, so nothing really to do there with it. So let's go take a look at the challenge here. Verizon is down 68 cents. Just not a pretty candle, not what I want to see. But again, the algorithm doesn't take into account candles, doesn't take into account news, doesn't take any of that into account. It's just playing probabilities. And so if we come in, we look at it. Today is our auto exit date, so we need to take a look at the price here. And here for the option, the price is 210. So let's adjust that here, 210. So we're sitting with a gain, so green. So we're going to hold it to our green auto exit date here of 619. Or the next time I jump on video and it's not in the green. So, at this point, if it were to pull back a little tomorrow morning, I'd probably have to bail and, get on out there. The stock exit level's 56.14. We're still a long way from that. About $1.80 from the profit level. So, quite a ways from both of those here. And, as I mentioned this morning, that move this morning increased the probability of a time stop here on it, and of that coming into play. All right. But we have plenty of cash here to put to work, and we have a bullish signal on Boeing today. So we're going to go out and make that trade. Here's Boeing, a little bit off its highs, has the 3.7 crossover on it today. There's one that had a downside 3.7 crossover. It didn't trigger. Now getting an upside 3.7 crossover. When we've seen some of these in the past, they've tended to be a little explosive, in terms of how they can move. You'll notice the Stoke 39.1 is not above 50. And normally for a trade, it is going to be above 50, even though that's not a parameter in the algorithm, but just a way to visually kind of show it. But it's just a little below. I believe Under Armour was a little below when we traded that one. J&J as well, if my memory serves me correctly there. But have a bullish signal here on Boeing, so going to go out and make the trade. All right, and I'm looking a month out to the 19th of July. Further than that, we run into earnings. Right, so earnings are this kind of week. The 24th of July or something like that. You can see the option prices are, about 30% more expensive. And I'm going to go buy the 355, just the right at the money options. I'm just going to buy 2 contracts here. That'll leave us with enough cash for another position. Again, I'm not getting too aggressive, here with it. I'll put a limit order here, 1075 for the 2 contracts. And boom, filled me at 1075. All right, 1075 there. On the 2 contracts, 19th of July, 355. 355 calls on Boeing. All right. Boeing's been in the news a little bit here today, talking some different stuff, and on the 737 jets and all of that. But it's Boeing's always in the news. A lot of news on Boeing, from day to day, from week to week. So, look, 1075. If you're following along, should be able to get a better fill price than what I just got. Let me just verify here that the alert went out, and if it has, I will. There we go. All right. So into Boeing here. Now the price of the stock, $354.83, right? $354.83. So let's go fill out our spreadsheet here. $354.83, and the average true range on Boeing is 778. All right, and so that's going to give us an exit level and a profit level here. 347 would be our exit level, 370 our profit level. Okay, and for those of you new with us, welcome. Great to have you. Those profit and those stop levels, those are not, if it hits it at any time. Those are, okay, if the stock is above or below those levels, at that kind of 10:30 a.m. Eastern or 2:30 p.m. Eastern time frame there. So 6:17 p.m. is the entry here. And the option with this is the 19th of July. 19th of July, 355 calls. The entry price was 10.75, and 2 contracts there. All right. So our exit date, right? Our time exit here, 3 days from today, so it'll be the 20th. So 6:20 p.m. session. And then for if it's green, we can run it a little longer. So it'd be 6:24 because of the weekend. But p.m. session there. On that, cash in. We're just a little bit less than Verizon. And the trade is open. So there we go. I'll go double check that for errors here. But everything filled on out there, and our levels are intact. Now, this is going to be one that when it goes and hits the profit level, it's going to be a little tough to hold in terms of, or to sell one and to hold the other. It is something we may have to, sell the position, buy back in 60% of a position on a different option. So we'll see what happens when the time comes here for that with Boeing. Okay, but pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Nothing too nothing too fancy, nothing too complex there, and good to go. All right. All right, so running with Boeing, running with Verizon here into the close. Talked about earlier this morning a couple possible downsides, crossovers. We had EOG. That has reversed. In fact, a lot of these energy names have reversed here today. Halliburton, ConocoPhillips, a lot of reversals within this space off the gap lowers today. Nothing too overly significant, nothing that I look at and go, wow, this is kind of game-changing. We continue to see Chevron be the outperformer, of the energy sector, and rightfully so. We've talked about why and why that should continue, though I do expect that to come off a little bit in the short term, then be able to kind of put some of that combo element back on here in the longer term. Now, we have some earnings upcoming. And it's just some of the, I'm going to show these because of the, let me get to the right site here, because they do affect some stocks that are on the watch list. Okay, so if they do trigger, it's not like I'm going to be able to go and trade them. So let's come here and find them. We have Adobe, which is on the watch list. It has earnings tomorrow, so that's not going to be tradable tomorrow. We'll have Oracle here. We'll have on Thursday, we'll have Red Hat and DHI, but neither are on the watch list, so nothing to deal with that. It's getting into next week where we have some Micron FedEx on next Tuesday. So, even if they were to trigger now, I'd have trouble getting into them. Neither are close to triggering, though, so I don't think that's going to be an issue there. Again, I want over 10,000 in gains before I'm willing to hold in earnings. And then we'll have Nike next week as well, and that's also on the watch list. So, those are coming up, and it won't prevent me from, making a trade on one of these ahead of the earnings, but until we have 10K in gains, I'm not going to hold, an earnings play here. And we're just shy of it, 2,700 short there. But, again, still short, so we'll wait, and when we have those gains, we'll have no problem, running with some of the earnings here with the algorithm, with the signals. And, it's one where when we look at the performance of stocks when it comes to the algorithm and earnings, it's really good. It's a stronger performance than just the simple day-to-day performance. But what happens is, yes, the performance is better. The probabilities are a little bit better, but the risk factor is also significantly greater. And so that is, something that comes into play, and something that, have to, definitely have to account for, and do account for with that. Okay. Bullish percent index here today. I think some things up, nothing. Right, just nothing. And when we're looking market wise, just kind of on the aggregate there, just not a lot in it. We do have small caps outperforming a little bit here today. Is they were lagged a little Friday, and now they're leading a little here today. We see that ping pong kind of back and forth with those, and it kind of goes along with transports. And transports are down today with small caps up, which we haven't seen very often. But it's not a super significant type of move. CSX is on the watch list for the challenge, and it's not one that we'll always be able to trade because of the options, but this is one where we start to see a 3-7 crossover to the upside becomes very playable. We might see a trigger come in here on it. Here with CSX, if it were to stop here and start to push on higher from this level, we would have earnings coming into play, so we'd have to take that into account, here with that. Okay. So anyway, those are some of the things kind of going on out there. Again, it's not a whole lot. It's just not something where, I look and I go, oh, well, we have this event, and they're going to affect this and that. We have no real movement in the market internal, so we still have the bulls are still in charge. It's a 6 here today. The biggest risk on the MarketVibe is that it goes to neutral this week. It could go bearish. If the MarketVibe goes to a 2 here by Wednesday, it would trigger bearish in that scenario. But as it sits, it simply sits. We've seen some interesting news out of Apple here. Apple's one where it's not going to give a bullish trigger if it just goes up from here. But this is an extremely bullish chart pattern here on it. Hits the upper band. Tend to find some resistance there, and it did. It's come on back, pulled on back a little bit, and now starting to charge on higher. Sometimes it does it just a little bit differently. Sometimes the pullbacks are a little more dramatic. Sometimes they're a little less dramatic. This is a less dramatic type of pullback, but it's a very bullish type of pattern here off the upper band, and we see several of these out there in the market. Buy Apple off of today's low. Does make a lot of sense out there, and it's one of the positions I'll be looking at personally here into the close. Again, I won't be able to trade it for the challenge as it won't have a trigger here. We don't have a fresh 3-7 cross, but anyway, one if you're itching to jump into something and you want a tight stop area, Apple's a very interesting proposition right here. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.